Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey!
Let's start off with the black and gold brand this week, because NXT had a nice big episode. You could almost call it a great episode, because it was the Great American Bash, multiple titles on the line, multiple storyline implications, basically a little mini pay-per-view for us. So we're going to treat it as if it was a little mini pay-per-view and talk about a few of the matches. First up, the NXT Tag Team titles are on the line. MSK were defending them against Ciampa and Thatcher. It seemed as though going into it we were talking about maybe a title change here, but MSK were able to pull out the victory, but it was, via a last-minute roll-up and a little bit of chaos. So it might not be over for these two teams.
No, but it was an interesting match, and yeah, I'm still kind of sad they don't have anything better for Ciampa right now. But everything he's done with Timothy Thatcher has made up for that. It's kind of like Randy Orton with Matt Riddle right now. Which is kind of ironic, because that's kind of the roles. You have Ciampa, who's the veteran, and then you have Timmy Thatcher they're trying to bring up to Ciampa's level. And you have Riddle and, of course, the 14-time world champion Orton working together. So, I wouldn't be down. I would not be have a problem with seeing the match again. Maybe at TakeOver.
Well, TakeOver's coming up soon, right? Like, I don't think it's crazy far away. I don't have the date on me. I'll try and type super lightly so the microphone doesn't pick it up a massive amount. I'm going to click. I'm going to click rapidly. We don't have the next NXT TakeOver date. I'm talking out of my butt. Don't listen to me.
My guess is it'll be the night before SummerSlam.
It's entirely possible. Which is, I want to say, 5 or 6 weeks away. That's not me doing quick math. That's just me randomly estimating based on when I know Money in the Bank is. Yeah, we could see it. We could see it before then. NXT is not afraid to hand out title matches on their weekly programs, as we will see next week, as Karrion Kross will be defending his NXT Championship against Johnny Gargano with the special guest referee of Samoa Joe.
Yeah, Joe doesn't like either of these guys, so he's definitely the most fair referee that they could have put.
You gotta love calling it down the middle, because you just can't stand and absolutely hate both people. I think it's the two people that Samoa Joe probably has biggest problems with.
I want to see the title be retained, because I don't want to see Gargano with another title. At least not an NXT title of any kind.
It is hard to ignore that fact that Karrion Kross has appeared on multiple main events now, right? Like, that's that little niggling feeling in the back of your head.
And I would see him versus Karrion Kross as Samoa Joe. That's what I'm talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot easier with the title being removed from the equation happening because of a mistake or something. So we may see John the Way pick up the NXT Championship.
That would be good for them, since they are currently titleless. After losing their NXT Women's Tag Team Championships to the team of Io Shirai and Zoe Stark.
Much to the surprise of no one on this show.
Look, we didn't sit here and say it'll happen because of Tegan Nox returning and distracting Candice LeRae. The battery finally got charged to 100%.
Yeah, I guess I'm fine with that. Is because it wasn't something to let us down. It was an interesting return.
Yeah, it definitely plays everything together, right? Because now we've got new champions. These titles haven't really stayed around anybody's waist for a large amount of time. But we've set up Candice LeRae versus Tegan Nox. We furthered the whole Indy Hartwell Dexter Lumis stuff as well. After the match, Dexter Lumis sort of sweeps Indy Hartwell off her feet and carries her out to places unknown. So it continues the Way being featured, laughing at all their little antics. and spins up a few more storylines and opens up these belts to new challenges with new champions.
Yeah. I have to question how much longer Shirai's going to stay in NXT, though. But then again, we've been questioning that with Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano for 3 years now. And they're still in NXT.
Yeah, it seems like it could definitely be a permanent home for some. Whether that is the case for Io Shirai specifically, not 100% sure on. It's really hard to tell, because at the moment it seems like there is a lot of rumblings of potential call-ups, a lot of people getting matches on main event, seeming like tryout matches, Vince heading down to the Performance Center to see who's down here. There's just a lot of rumblings at the moment that make it very hard to predict where NXT is going to be in 6 or 12 months. We don't know who's going to be around. We're not 100% sure on who's going to have debuted. But in the short term, that stuff's a little bit easier for us to predict, because we definitely know who's going to debut, as we have our NXT Breakout Tournament field announced, as they showcased the 8 guys who are going to be in that tournament. And I think the opening matches are on 205 Live this week, I think. I don't 100% have that. But it doesn't really matter, because Duke Hudson's going to win.
I've got to go with my boy Josh Briggs.
Sure you do. You don't, though. You could go with Duke Hudson.
Are you telling me you wouldn't go with somebody if their name was Grady?
That's true. But, come on. Duke. I have to go with everybody who's even vaguely from Australia or New Zealand, okay? And if somebody crazily came along with the name Grady, that name that like nobody has, maybe they have a last name, O'Grady is more likely. Sure, I'll support them too, but you still could support my boy as a number 2. You could put a little bit of juice on Duke Hudson.
Honestly, I think it's not even just that he has my name. I think it's just he really impressed me when they did that Involve show a couple years ago. With what I saw there, so I'm like, he's the one person in the entire group that I'm like, I know that guy.
It's entirely fair. This group is definitely a lot less well known. Like, there's been a couple guys who've competed on 205 Live, a couple guys who've made their debut on NXT in a match or two. Obviously, Duke Hudson's been in a couple different storylines with a couple different names, shifted around, never really done anything. And yeah, as you say, Josh Briggs Evolve, one of the greatest Evolve champions and stuff like that. So a little less star powered than last time, where I was trying to figure out who everybody was, because they'd had careers before, WWE big and impressive careers like Trevor Lee coming in as Cameron Grimes and stuff like that. So you gotta support who you gotta support, and if you're taking Josh, I'll take Duke, and we'll just hope they meet in the finals.
Yeah, I think that's very much it. It's just that you know him, I know Josh Briggs. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's definitely not like the last one when we had like a half a dozen people that were like, "Oh, I know that guy. I know that guy. I really know that guy. I wish I didn't now."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting seeing these new people come in and how they can get themselves over with the NXT audience, and maybe we see a breakout that doesn't win, like we saw with Reed and Loomis and Grimes.
Talking about Cameron Grimes, and I don't think you were trying to segue me there. We got ourselves a new Virgil.
Yep, exactly what we thought. Now, the question is how long does this storyline last? How long do you think it will be until we get what we know will come?
That's always the question when you do something like this, right? Like, AEW just did it recently as well with the Best Friends and Chuck Taylor. And so you as soon as it happens, your brain automatically flicks to how long until the revenge happens? How long until they break out of this role and they get their revenge? And it isn't usually a crazy long amount of time. It is usually pretty short.
Yeah. My guess is it'll probably be about 6 to 8 months. That's... If I was booking this, that's about the time frame I would do.
That's long.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But the thing is that I think it's part of it's just building in the storyline. I think you have him begrudgingly for a while helping LA Knight retain his title or winning matches and stuff. And I think in like 6 to 8 months, we get to the point where LA Knight's defending against some new person in the that's coming into the company that you want to elevate and get over. And Cameron Grimes finally has enough. You've had vignettes, promos, and everything of LA Knight just degrading Cameron Grimes this entire time as his butler. And he finally snaps and helps whoever the opponent is become the new $1 million champion.
Yeah. I think that's definitely the ending. The question is just how long it takes to get there, right? I think we might see it a little bit sooner. I'd maybe be looking at 3 months down the line, before the end of the year kind of stuff. But I think we agree on the path. It's just how quickly we zoom down said path. And then the last match from NXT's Great American Bash. I'll get it right sooner or later. Adam Cole defeating Kyle O'Reilly in a straight-up singles match as the main event.
Which was a good match, but it doesn't matter because they're doing it again in an unsanctioned match on NXT next week because reasons.
We can't end on a tie.
Yeah, I think this'll finally be Adam Cole's hurrah.
How long have we been saying that?
Yeah. Well, we had to finish the Kyle O'Reilly feud first. But I think this'll be like where he gets his moment to say goodbye. And then in a few weeks, he'll show up on Raw or SmackDown and start wreaking havoc. Maybe they'll do something funny, and it'll just be he'll come out as Michael Cole's son or something, just to really stick it to the internet, because I think that would be funny.
I don't know what's gonna happen after Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly. We thought we knew it was already over. We thought that we were moving on, and then they drug us back into it, and we got a few more questions than we do answers. So hopefully, again, in that short term, 2-3 weeks from now, we'll have our answers on exactly where that is going. Well, we're about halfway through the show, and that means it is time for our entrance theme of the week. And this week, just gonna play it, but it is Big Boss Man's Serving Hard Time. If you ever take a trip down to Cobb County, Georgia, you better read the sign when you walk the line. You better watch out for and you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Why did we play that theme? Well, someone decided to go and goof up our storylines and completely mess with everything we got running right now, as Jimmy Uso gets his 4th, I believe, DUI, and is serving hard time.
Yeah.
Not exactly serving hard time, but metaphorically.
Yeah, it was his 4th DUI. At least this time he didn't resist arrest. So I guess he's improving on that, but he blew a blood alcohol level that was almost 3 times the legal limit.
Just get an Uber.
Yeah. Or at the very least, have a designated driver. Somebody there with you that you don't have to drive with a .205 blood alcohol level.
Look, this dude's rich enough. He could call any Uber he wanted. He could Uber home and then Uber back to the bar to get his car the next morning. He's got plenty of Uber money.
But yeah, this was just stupid on a grand scale. And we had a major storyline going here with him and his cousin and his brother. We thought we had an idea of where they might go with it. And now he's just lobbed a grenade in it, and it's like, well, where do we go from here? Does Jay end up getting punished somehow for his brother's idiocy? That's something we have to consider as well. What if Jay was going to win the briefcase?
Yeah.
Could that be off the table? But yeah, it looks like our main event Jay may end up being main event Jay again, because Jimmy's probably not going to be around for a while. Because I know I wouldn't have him on television after that for a while.
Yeah, that's the question, right? The question is, will WWE keep him off? We saw at the conclusion of SmackDown this week that Edge, taught him a pretty painful lesson ahead of it. Jammed that little metal crossbar into his mouth and held him in a submission hold. So it's definitely viable to hold him off for a couple weeks to sell that.
Yeah, or they could have him come back and do a concerto and he'd be gone for weeks because of that.
There's definitely ways to work around it if he is going to be kept off TV. I would not necessarily support it, but I wouldn't put it past WWE to just bring him back like nothing happened next week on SmackDown, and pretend like he didn't just get his 4th DUI.
Yeah, this whole thing also makes me think of the rap battle between the Usos and the New Day, when the New Day dropped the bomb of them being in their mugshots.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I kind of wish they'd do something like that just to embarrass him again. But who knows? Honestly, Jimmy needs help.
Yeah, as much as we've joked around it and talked about it in storyline and how much he's messing up storyline, he's messing up his life a lot more than he is messing up his storyline.
Honestly, the thing that may need to wake him up may need to be a release. The show that, just because he is part of one of the biggest families in wrestling history, doesn't make him infallible. And WWE will always pay for rehab for any ex-employee. So that wouldn't be an issue. It's just, I kind of feel like that may be one of the things that maybe puts him at rock bottom and really realizes, I need help. I need to fix everything that's going wrong. And then maybe in a year or so, after everything is starting to get back together, they could bring him back. But we don't know. We don't know what anything is going to be done until it's happened.
And I think this is an important moment, just to take a pause from the wrestling and just mention, if as much as we're talking about this DUI and as I said, storyline and stuff like that, it is real life as well. And if you or someone needs that support, I don't know the American hotline numbers, I don't know where you're listening from the world, but I'm sure if you can Google or search it, you can find a hotline number for your country to get the support you need. In New Zealand, the alcohol drug helpline is 0800 787 797, or free text to 8681, and you get some advice and hopefully do what Jimmy also needs to do here and sort out this little problem you have, and move on from it, and just deal with your real life problems as well. But I'm going to then pick up that somber moment. Thank you for sticking with us through it. And you mentioned here the Money in the Bank stuff, and if we're talking about SmackDown, we're talking about Money in the Bank. We got to talk about the shock return here of Zelina Vega.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I kind of expected her to show up in AEW, where her husband just showed up at.
It's a bit of an awkward one, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
They fire Zelina. There's rumors of Zelina showing up on AEW with Andrade and everybody over there. And then Aleister Black gets released. And then Zelina shows up on WWE. And the very next week, Aleister Black shows up as Tommy End, or Malachi Black, on AEW. It's like there's like a miscommunication going, right? Like, oh, I'll go here. Oh, no, I'll come here. It's like when you're trying to call your friend and you're trying to figure out how to meet up with them. Like, I'll come to you. No, I'll come to you. No, I'm already at you. Oh, but I'm where you were. But I'm happy to see her back. The women's division needed her.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's go for it. Put the briefcase on her.
No, you see here, I have a problem with that. And it's 2 words, and it's Liv Morgan, okay? I'm fully behind the Liv Morgan train here.
Well, she has no friends to stay with her anymore, so I don't know.
Liv Morgan has taken down all of the people that Sonya Deville has just handed Money in the Bank opportunities to. She deserves a spot, and she should get it.
Yeah, I definitely can't complain about that, but I think it's just like, out of all the people that are currently in the match right now, Liv's not in the match, so unfortunately I can't really say anything. The person that interests me the most with that briefcase would be Zelina Vega.
Yeah, that's fair. Fresh face coming back, coming in hot. We didn't see her wrestle a whole lot in her last run, coming back as a solid member of the female roster. Definitely something that you'd like to see as sort of exciting and fresh and new. SmackDown still has 2 open spots in the women's match. 2 more weeks of SmackDown again because it's recorded before SmackDown, before the pay-per-view. I imagine 1 each way. Maybe Liv earns her spot on the last SmackDown just before. Who knows? We'll have to, fingers crossed, wait and see. Because I'm still rooting for her. First, to get into the match, but secondly, to then win the match.
Yeah, it would be a lot more interesting than them just putting the briefcase on Bliss, which was our previous idea. Or at least my previous idea. But yeah, because if you have put it on Vega, she wouldn't have to cash in that. So she could start the mind games with the champions, especially a Bianca Belair type.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Zelina Vega is definitely that opportunist person.
Yeah, and Alexa Bliss would not need a briefcase to get the Raw Women's Championship. So, yeah, we'll have to see who else gets in the match. But with this shock return, my favorite just flipped to Vega.
Yeah, that seems entirely fair. It's kind of hard to bet against the return 2 weeks out from the pay-per-view. And I'm sure we'll get into that more. I think it is next week's show, which will be our Money in the Bank preview show. We won't have the SmackDown just beforehand, but we'll try and make it all work together and preview that show in full. And hopefully we can pull it off all nice and fancy. We've got a few more minutes here left in the show, so I don't think there's anything majorly hugely important that happened on Raw or that we've missed. Hopefully not. There was an awesome Miz TV to start off the show with all the Money in the Bank competitors. Great bit. And then really the piece at the end that I want to talk about is that Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods taking on Bobby Lashley and MVP tag team match. MVP's first match in God knows how long. They're really, really pushing Kofi Kingston. They are building this man up.
Yeah, this will be a fun match when it happens for the title, because it's like the emotion with Kofi as his championship win. That moved MVP, who was able to come back to the company, who moved Lashley and got him rehabilitated from the disastrous storyline with Lana. And now he's champion. So it's like a full circle moment here for them. And this is all, and everything could be thanks to Xavier Woods, who had the original idea to start the New Day.
Yeah, it's It's a butterfly effect for sure, right?
Yep.
Just dominoes upon dominoes. And I'll be honest, this tag team match got me a lot more hyped for the Kingston Lashley match. Like, I knew it was going to be a good match, and I probably tipped it, 90-10 in Lashley's favor. Coming out of this, I'm 70-30 in Lashley's favor still. I'm giving a little bit more chance to Kofi Kingston. Could we see Kofi champion second time around?
I don't think we will. I wouldn't be against it, but I think Lashley still needs the title for a couple more months.
Yeah, that's fair. That is entirely fair. We will have to wait and see, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot more on our Money in the Bank preview show, because this week's show we are out of time. It's been great talking to you.
Bye.
And you can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our YouTube page, /WrestlingRNDup. And we'll see you next week.